Well, hello and welcome to the Brian HORNBACK Experience. This is episode 81. Not real sure how long this is going to last. Just got a lot of things that are going on. You'll probably hear in the background. Let me turn it up so you can hear it. Well, okay. I can't turn it up any more than it already is. Anyway, I got the House floor, the Tennessee State House floor on. They're trying to rush through and finish up session tonight. So I'm listening to that. The school board has met and approved a budget. I've got to go back and watch that on rerun. But just a lot of things going on. But primarily I want to talk about something that I've talked about before, but I want to reiterate it and tell you about a funny experience. When I first started this blog 17 years ago, when it was before audio podcasting, video podcasting, every kind of podcast, when it was just a blog in its very infancy, I allowed any comment to get posted at any time. The only time I found out that if there was something offensive or needed to be handled, was when I would see it along with all of the readers. And so that happened. And I quickly learned that as the blog continued in its infancy and people began to like and dislike things that were being said, and this was in 2004. This was long before everybody got nasty in politics, long before that. But I came to realize a long time ago when I started this blog that I'm not for everybody. And some of the things I say make some people happy. Some things I say make some people mad. The very people that might get mad last week will get happy this week. The people that get happy this week very likely got mad a month ago. You know, it's just the way it goes when you're dishing content on the interweb and in the public sphere. That's going to happen. And so, you know, eventually I had to get to a point in Knoxville. At that time, there was a lot of blogs. In 2004, blogs were, you know, everybody and their brother had one, kind of like MySpace, kind of like Facebook. So everybody had one. And so I got to the point where I just said, you know what? Forget it. It's my blog. It's got my name on it. No comments. So I went through a period of time where I had no comments. And when I'm saying periods of time, I mean, we're talking about maybe for the first couple of years, it was the wide open West. Then maybe for a couple, 3 years, there was no comments. Sometimes people would email me their comments and then I would post them for them. But then, you know, once I got through the infamous lawsuit that got filed in 2013, and then that lawsuit, we got summary judgment in 2015. At some point there, I began to say, okay, maybe I could moderate it, okay? So what happens when a comment comes into the blog, comes into the back door of the blog is, I used to get an email telling me, but I don't do that anymore. So, I mean, obviously, I'm creating content every day, sometimes multiple times a day. So, when I go into the blog to either write a post, anything, I can see, I know how many are in waiting, and so I know what that number is, and then I know how many, if it tells me there's whatever the number is today, then I know that there's been 5 added. What you also don't understand is in the back door of the website, it will filter out spam bots. Spam bots can just flood you with comments, and that's happened before where I've had to go through and delete 500 comments because they're all just spam bots trying to send a link to some porn sites, or trying to send links to sell something on Amazon, or whatever it might be. So all that being said, so I moderate. And so I know that if there's, since this morning, if there's six, if the number is 6 more than it was that's in the queue, then I go review those 6. And so this afternoon when I got home, I had, 6 or 10, I don't remember what the number was. And I went in, and there was, out of those 6 or 10, there was 3 legit comments, and the rest were spam bots that had somehow gotten through our back door. And so I delete the spam bots comments, and I approved a comment. And then I had this long comment that was really asking me some detailed questions about the coverage of the sheriff's race. And somebody that linked to a story that came from a liberal online publication from over in Nashville. So that kind of tells me that, okay, maybe that's the author of that story that's, wanting to get his link in on my comments so, it can help boost his readership. Maybe. Then again, maybe not, But so that you also know that, it asks for you to put in an email address. Let's all pretend that we're not elementary or middle school kids. We know that you can type in any kind of email. You can type in Mickey Mouse at whatever, and we know that that's not going to be legit. But it looked like a legit email address. So I'm like, okay, this person really is inquiring about the blog coverage, about how I do this, giving me some encouragement, telling me that they read it a lot and what they like and what they'd like to see more of. Fantastic. There's also a way in there that when you send a comment, it gives the IP address. And, it doesn't give me the exact location of where you're at. Probably could, if you paid for the software, you could probably find that out, I would imagine. But in the IP address for this particular person, it was 37211, which is Nashville. So, that was the first red flag. I'm like, okay, why somebody in Nashville care about what I'm writing about a certain race in Knox County? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and respond to the email address. And so I really spent some time and wrote a letter, or wrote an email, and explained, this is this. And by the way, I've not endorsed candidates since, I think, 2014. I write about races. Some candidates advertise and some don't. Like, they advertise in newspapers, whether it be the daily paper, or whether they subscribe, or whether they buy ads on the daily paper's website. They buy ads on the TV, in the news, and on cable channels as well here locally. So that's kind of what happens, right? That helps pay the gas to go to meetings and whatnot, and go to events. And they don't like the fact that I just go and record a video of a meeting and, I guess, capture somebody screaming and yelling. And they would prefer that I didn't do as much of that, and I would do more of just reporting what happened. Well, it's kind of how the lawsuit of 2013 happened. Was I was not there, but I was relying on 3 or 4 other people tell me what happened. And then, obviously, once the lawsuit happened, then those people had to then sign affidavits, or I don't remember even what we called it now. But anyway, They had to sign that, yes, that's what they heard. And then they also had to come to depositions and say under oath that, yes, that's what they heard. And because anything other than what they heard firsthand is hearsay. So, going through that, I was like, how can an elected official or someone who's running for office or someone who's participating in the process, if you have them recorded and you say, this is what so-and-so said, and you put it up, they can't refute that, right? Just like they can't refute the truth defense. So the Senate has now non-concurred with Jerry Sexton's bill on the school libraries. That's another thing I'm going to talk about here in a minute. Anyway, so I send this email, and within about 30 seconds, I get a response back that email wasn't delivered because it doesn't exist. So if you really want to engage me in a legitimate conversation, and if you really want to know why my coverage is one way or the other, and you want to know things about something that maybe I haven't printed on the blog, but sorry. You can't, you can't. Okay, so they refused to accept the Senate message. So they're going to have a conference, I guess, on those amendments. Anyway, whatever. Lots of drama going on in Nashville because they're trying to hurry up and get done. The good news is when the legislature adjourns, we're safe. They can't screw with us anymore. Gridlock's golden because when gridlock happens, there's no screwing of the American people or the Tennessee people. Anyway, all that to say that if you're going to try to engage with me through comments on my website and you really, truly want a response back, you need to give me a legitimate email address. Now, the legislature, probably in their last day, maybe they'll go into tomorrow, maybe, I don't know. It's 7 o'clock. They're meeting right now. So I don't know that they'll get done tonight. Might get done tomorrow. I think they're hoping to get done by the end of the week. Anyway, you find yourself, when you find yourself agreeing with someone who you rarely, if ever, have agreed with, it's kind of a scary thing. But Representative Jerry Sexton from Granger, who's not running for re-election, by the way, had a bill about school libraries and librarians. And basically what he wants to do is he wants all school districts across the state to submit a list of the inventory they have per, I guess, grade level. So they're going to say that K through 5, this is the inventory in the school, in the library. And 6 through 8, here's the inventory. And 9 through 12, here's the inventory. Then they're going to have a committee of 12, as I understand the law, that Sexton and Granger wants to pass. And that committee of 12, that will be 2 of them are school librarians, and the rest are like appointed by the governor in the House or the Senate, whoever. It's a state. It's kind of like the textbook commission, or it may even be the textbook commission. Okay, but they're going to add 2 or 3 more people, and they're going to add one that's not even got a vote. But anyway, they're going to say that yes, this inventory is appropriate, and then they're going to instruct if there's inventory that's not appropriate. So in the debate, basically, Sexton threw out a couple of books that he said weren't appropriate, which I might agree with him on. I don't know the book that he named out. I can assume what it meant by the name of the book, but I've not seen the book. Here's my problem. I found myself agreeing with the Democrats on this particular legislation, and in particular, Knoxville Representative Gloria Johnson. That's scary. I'm going to be honest with you. It's kind of scary. But here's the problem. This country was founded on free speech. And at what point, we've seen it, okay? We've seen it in the cancel culture. We've seen it in a lot of areas. You know, a lot of people talking about the big tech, you know, how Facebook can, you know, they don't like what you say, so they can ban you for 2 days, 20 days, whatever it is. I don't agree with that. Now, if you threaten somebody, that, you know, probably deserves being thrown in jail. I mean, not literally thrown in jail, but thrown in Facebook jail. But if your comments, my thought is that unless you're threatening someone, your comments should pretty much just, people can interpret whether you're crazy or you're not crazy, whether they want to hear you, whether they don't want to hear you. And I just have a real problem with book banning, book banning and book burning. And one of the representatives, not Gloria Johnson, but one of the other Democrat legislators asked, well, what would you do? Do you want to burn these books? And Representative Sexton Granger said, yeah, I'd burn it. Well, then he come back and said, well, I'm not on the commission that's going to sit this, so I'm not going to be banning the book. Well, you know, my problem is that while I might agree with the philosophy of the 12 that would be deciding the books in the library this year or next year, what about 20 years from now? What about when things change, or we're in another state and they don't like what I say or what I write or what I get published? So, you know, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with limiting speech. I have a problem with limiting whether it be the spoken word, the written word, the printed word. I have a problem with it. So I have lots of things to think about. And the fact that Gloria Johnson and I agreed on something today. But again, whether that puts me in conflict with my Republican brethren, then so be it. But I'm not going to be for banning speech, either written, spoken, published, and that's where we're at. So y'all have a great night. Episode 81, the Brian HORNBACK Experience. Check me out on brianhornback.com. Check me out on the YouTube. Check me out on all the podcast forums. And we'll talk to y'all again real soon. Remember, tomorrow's the last day of early voting. That's April 28th till about 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in Carnes. And Election Day is Tuesday, May the 3rd from 8 to 8 at your polling places. Don't go to the early votes. We'll talk to y'all again. brianhornback.com. Check me out everywhere. Give me likes. Give me reviews. Positive ones, preferably. Y'all have a great one.